Hey, welcome back to the channel. I hope you had a great New Year and Christmas. Today is my first day back doing pedal stuff. Been back teaching earlier this week, and yeah, been doing bits and bobs in my evenings. I've been working on kind of revised versions of the Twin Boost and the Embers fuzz. I launched Hamilton Effects with those two pedals just over a year ago now, and kind of from a year of listening to feedback, hearing what people think when they play it and that kind of thing, and kind of living with the production model pedals for a year or a bit longer actually, but kind of had a few things that I wanted to revisit at the start of 2026. So that's what I've been doing this week, including a lot of kind of jotting down in a notebook about trying to solve some switching issues. Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much for the pedals that will be coming out hopefully in the next month or so. But yeah, so I've been doing some work on the switching side of things for the Twin Boost in particular. For the Embers, a lot of the stuff from my videos at the end of last year are kind of feeding into that. But yeah, over the last kind of few days, and what I'm going to be working on today is refining the actual kind of boost circuits in the Twin Boost. I've had a go doing the left-hand one, which is the one with the bias control, and we'll take a look at that in a sec. But also going to be doing the right-hand one, which is more of like a classic boost today. So yeah, enjoy, do join me for that. If you're new, do subscribe, it really helps, especially with a dog barking in the background and needing to be let out in the garden. So I'm going to do that now. As you can see, my work table is very messy, but this is the reality of designing pedals from your dining table. The actual lid of the dining table sits on top of the table and kind of just covers everything up. It's a bit like out of sight, out of mind. Okay, this is going to need to be quick because my GoPro's battery is low, but this is where we're at so far with my out of tune guitar. Okay, I'm gonna have to tune it. Okay, so this is the left side. The volume is down low so that you can hear the character of what the drive circuit is doing without boosting into the amp. And now I have to let the dog in. Here's with normal bias, so with the bias effect, if you like, all the way off. Kind of a slightly gritty. When you really dig in, you get that squish, which is my favourite thing of having the bias control on this, is that kind of feel thing. It's not quite compression, because we still have a really dynamic sound. Also, if we compare it to the bypassed sound, there's less like treble. There's still clarity, but yeah, just kind of less. If I turn the volume up and let it boost the amp, I'm using a model of an AC30. This is what I mean about like why I show it to you quiet, because when you start to drive it, it starts to sound really nice and stuff, but what you're hearing there is a nicely boosted amp, or model of an amp. Don't know what I'm playing. So yeah, I'm going to turn the volume, well, quick bit of volume all the way up, but then, you know. But we'll go back down. In the new version of the Twin Boost, I'm going to include the attenuation switch that I've got on the Twin Parallel. So we're back down to pretty clean. And then we start to bring in the bias knob. The volume lifts a little bit. So you can hear that texture, that crunch is coming from the drive circuit. It's adding drive and it's adding compression, but it's retaining all of that clarity. So often drives kind of have a little bit of a low pass kind of curve at the top of that treble. Getting all the kind of clarity from the telly style pickups. Let's bring the bias up a bit. The bias knob up a bit, meaning we're starving the transistor of voltage. You still get that real sharp attack from the telly. Almost like when you have an attack knob on a compressor that lets you get the transient through. Kind of blowing up amp sound. I really like that. Turn up a bit more. I haven't set the upper limit yet on here, so if you go all the way up, you're starving it totally at voltage, but we go to the kind of upper limit. It's quieter again, so we push the volume. It doesn't feel like an overdrive or a distortion, but it's still super gritty, and I guess you're lowering the headroom of the transistor. Super fun to play. This is a kind of sound that I listen out for when designing this side of it, because brings like real interesting texture to kind of those kind of rhythm parts. that's where we're at with the revised left-hand side of the twin boost. Right. I'm sitting here editing this video and realised I didn't do a very good job at all of framing up. So apologies about that, but the more videos that I'll do, the better I'll get at it. And so if you do like it, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribe, that'd be great. Okay, so I've finished up this design for the left side of the twin boost and I've written it up. So I'm going to take it apart and we're going to look at the right side. One of the things that I've changed is I've added a buffer before we go into either boost. That's where some of the headache comes with switching and stuff, because I just wanted the buffer to be at the beginning of the signal chain. But obviously you can decide whether 1 is going into 2 or 2 is going into 1. And the reason that's there is for when it's set to parallel, because to split the signal, it needs to be buffered. And so I wanted to design it so both boosts sounded good after the buffer. Hope that makes sense. So I'm leaving this kind of, I know you can't see in detail, this little cluster of stuff because that's the buffer, and when this booster is going to be on its own, it's going to be after the buffer. And is there anything else that I can leave? There'll be a few other bits and bobs, I'm sure. But I think for now I'm just going to pull everything. So normally the right hand side of the twin boost uses a 5088 transistor. I don't actually think that I've got any of those lying around, but that's okay because the aim for this was to try out a few different things. So I'll build it around a 3904. From memory they're just slightly brighter, but not too different. So where did I put my pick? .22N going into the circuit is setting the high pass filter before it's boosted. So let's change, oh I'm going to get some pliers to grab that because I don't want to disturb too much more of it. We're going to try changing it to a 100N, which obviously lets a lot more bass through, and will probably change the gain characteristic as well, which will be quite interesting. Find my pliers at a quick glance. So I'm just going to use these wire cutters. So that's the 22 out. There's the 100 in. Yeah, it's definitely audible. It doesn't feel like when you do a high pass at the end of the chain and you kind of feel like you're, if it's anything above like 80 hertz, 60 hertz, whatever that E note, actually lower in this case because I'm down tuned, but it doesn't feel like I'm losing any kind of fundamental frequency from the 22. And the 100. It's subtle enough that I think I'll leave it as a 100 so that bass players could use it, or like baritone players. Again, turning down the volume so you can hear the gain characteristics of the circuit itself. Right, let's try some different transistors. So we'll take out the 3904, and we'll try the 550C, which I have here, which I believe the pin out is the other way around. Okay, so this is the 550C rather than the 3904. Start with gain in the middle. Gain all the way down. So I think it's a bit hotter, a little bit hotter. You can hear that it's biased slightly differently because it feels a bit like asymmetrical clipping, in that it feels like there's kind of two layers of drive going on, but it's where the wave is clipping at one side and not clipping at the other side. Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I don't know quite that it, will be worth replacing one with the other. It's a shame that I haven't got any 5088s actually to hand, but okay, yeah. Now the 2222A, which is what I ended up preferring in the left-hand side boost. Where's the emitter going? Man, that's so much high gain. Overall, I think I prefer the tone because it's a bit clearer. A bit less muddy. That's with gain all the way down though, but with that resistor in, so maybe if I take that resistor out. Okay, that resistor is limiting the top end of gain rather than the bottom end. In the left-hand side, there's a resistor that is before the drive stage to kind of calm that as well. Maybe I'll try that. Just to kind of get rid of that sizzle on the super low gain bit. Let's try adding that input resistor in. So it's a 22k, that's what I'm using in the left side. Okay, now we've got that input resistor in, let's see. Turn it down, see if we've got it cleaner. Yeah, we have actually. That sounds nice. Let's increase the gain. This is gain at halfway. This is gain on full. That's nice. Okay, one other thing that I'd like to try is, at the moment with my clipping diodes, rather than sending them like hard clipping to ground, I have a third diode that is sending it to ground, which kind of lessens the clip a little bit more. But let's try sending it straight to ground, because that's what's in the original plan. So now we're going to be clipping through the clipping diodes a bit more. Let's turn the gain down. That's with the gain all the way down. Let's take that away and put that diode back in. Yeah, I much prefer it with like how it is currently. I wonder about this transistor with the 22N input cap rather than 100N. So my memory card on my GoPro filled up. I'm not very good at GoPro management. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty happy with where we ended up there for the right hand side of the twin boost with the 2222 transistor, that kind of lower input gain like on the left hand side, using the 22N. There's lots of 22s in this circuit. 22N capacitor going into it, just to kind of tame the low end a little bit. The exact same clipping diode layout was on the left side as well. Yeah, I don't have the right gain pot, so the full gain range I couldn't test. But yeah, it feels good to kind of have an updated kind of circuit plan for the next round of twin boosts.